Hello, everybody. Writing Coach Sarah here, and today we're going to talk about responsibility with AI. I know AI is something that we have had a lot of debates over at Moorpark College and in general, both educationally and out of the educational space. But today I just want to go over what you should and shouldn't be doing with AI in education, specifically your college work. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's talk about what counts as AI. I know some people have been a little bit confused about that. Here are a couple of things that are blatantly AI. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Duolingo uses AI. Google Maps uses AI. Grammarly is a big AI user. That one, they kind of updated it more recently. They now use GPT-14. So be careful with that. We'll get into that a little more later. And then, virtual assistants like, I'm going to say it, Alexa and Siri and Google Home. I'm sorry if I alerted anybody's virtual assistants in the background, but they do all use AI. Some bigger ones when it comes to writing are ChatGPT, OpenAI, Bardly, anything with AI in the name. Quillbot AI, I think, is another one I've heard. But then there's also other AIs that are more for leisure, like character AI, which is where you can talk to like characters. Or there's even AI that catches AI. I believe Turnitin uses AI to track for AI, and GPT-0 uses AI to check for AI. So you're fighting fire with fire here. Let's talk about when AI is not a good thing to use and how it might be a little bit bad. It spreads a lot of misinformation. ChatGPT can make up prompts that are not real facts. ChatGPT can use fake quotes that aren't like real quotes, they don't exist. They're from fake made up sources. When I say fake, I mean that they do not exist. They are not real sources, accurate sources. They don't exist on the World Wide Web. They made it up themselves. ChatGPT loves to talk about itself. It likes talking about AI even when the prompt isn't like AI. So even if the topic's not AI, it's still going to try and bring AI into the equation. Not always, but a lot of the time it does, we've noticed. There's no control over content generation, which can lead to biased and offensive content. A prime example of this is a couple of years ago, there was a Twitch channel that used AI to recreate Seinfeld episodes. And this was going pretty like normally, like 24/7 on a Twitch stream. And eventually, the AI started saying racist things, which was not great, and they got banned off Twitch. Mm-hmm. But basically, because there's no content generation or control over content generation, you really have to watch out for that. It could say some things that are not great. And ChatGPT makes clear grammar mistakes that are pretty easy to notice. So a lot of their sentences don't really flow well. A lot of their sentences aren't grammatically correct, and a lot of their sentences they'll kind of talk themselves in circles in their paragraphs where they'll kind of just repeat the same thing over and over again with little to no variation. It also can't pick up on subtle emotional nuance in conversation. So it's another reason that the writing that's AI generated does feel inhuman to a tutor from a tutor standpoint. I notice it's not very human like. So that misusage can lead to a reduced level of learning due to the fact that it's diminishing your critical thinking, your creativity, your memory retention, and your learning experience. It promotes a more lazy attitude, and it does lead to, academic dishonesty. And then something that a lot of people don't think about is inequity of access. A lot of these are behind a paywall, or if you want them to work better, they're behind a paywall. So it's actually inequitable to people who can't afford it. Not that you should be using it or paying for it, but according to a study done in 2023, nearly half, so about 43% of all college students have used AI tools like ChatGPT, and about half of those students admitted to using them for assignments or exams. So about 20%. That's a 1 in 5 chance that a student sitting in front of you was using AI. That means if you're with a group of 5, there's about a 20% chance somebody there is, using AI. Now, I don't want to be just a hater. Sometimes AI does have benefits, but those are kind of rare. I'm going to be real. But let's talk about sometimes when it might be good to have AI around. It's very fast. It has a fast response time. It's great for auto replies and easily automated tasks. If you're up at midnight and you need some help, it's going to be there for you. I'm not. I'm going to be asleep. But AI will be there. It does not sleep. It's great for help hotlines for companies for that exact reason. And it can provide assistance for somebody until a human arrives or wakes up, in my case. You know? So if you're asking for help at midnight, you're more likely to get a response from AI than from a human being, which is a blessing and a curse depending on what you need. If you need some basic troubleshooting, AI's your guy. It can be great for practice, though. ChatGPT is pretty good for generating prompts for new language learners. It can generate some harder math problems. It could even be some extra vocabulary practice or give you a writing prompt. I suggest using it to generate maybe some practice questions for studying, but that doesn't always mean that it's accurate, so you should always take it with a grain of salt. So I feel like the great thing about it is kind of teaching yourself to look at what AI generates and decide if it's right or wrong using the knowledge you have from the course. So you're using it to help you learn, not to do work for you. It's best used as a helper. So just like a tutor, you're going to use it to help guide you to your own conclusions, not to have it make conclusions for you. Just like the tutors aren't going to give you conclusions and you're going to have to make them yourself, you want to use AI the same way or else you're not learning and it might be giving you misinformation. Now, here's Moorpark College's official stance. Now, these slides are about a year old, so I believe these are from 2024. It's similar on their website. You can look it up. But currently, it's under fabrication. Fabrication is the intentional use of invented information. Examples will include signing a roll sheet on behalf of another student, giving false information to college personnel, answering verbal or written questions in an untruthful manner, inventing data or sources of information for research papers or other assignments. This is where the AI comes in. That includes the use of false information provided by artificial intelligence generators. As members of Moorpark College learning community, students are not to engage in any form of academic dishonesty. Any act of academic dishonesty will be considered a very serious offense that is subject to disciplinary action. Consider yourself warned. Here's a small conclusion just for the slides. ChatGPT isn't all bad. You just need to use it as a learning tool, not as a crutch. And here's a little picture of GLaDOS, another lovely form of video game AI. But I do have one last thing for you guys. I know that Grammarly is very popular amongst the groups, but there are times we can use it and times when it will count as fabrication. Some of our lovely tutors down at the tutoring center have put this together. It is not mine, so big shout out to my tutors. I believe Pranathi is the one that was in charge of this one. We love her. Go ahead and stop by the Writing Center and tell her thank you. Because I feel like this is such a great visual that tells you when it's okay to use Grammarly, when you don't have to really worry about like it flagging for AI, and when you should be really careful. So, as Pranathi has told us, go for it. When using Grammarly, you can allow for correctness in punctuation, like adding or removing a comma or apostrophe. You can allow it to remove extra spaces between words. If you hit your space bar an extra time, it'll point that out. You can allow it to help you correct misspelled words, so for spelling errors. And you can allow correctness when adding an article to a sentence, like the word or the. You can allow changes to prepositions when needed, but that's usually where the green situation kind of ends. Here's where you should slow down and be cautious when using Grammarly. If you're prompted to change the subject-verb agreement, I want you to stop and think about whether this is changing your writing. We want to make sure that it also doesn't change a quoted piece of work, because if you're quoting something else, you don't want to change that sentence around. That's how the author wrote it, right? So if it's the author's work, not your own, or if it's trying to get you to change around your entire sentence, you really got to stop and wonder, is it really looking out for me? Is it asking what's best of me? Or is this starting to be where the AI takes over my paper? If you're advised to change the article-noun agreement, you can also think about whether the change is necessary. Make sure it's not changing a quote again. So just being wary of not just when it's changing a quote that's not your own, but also when it's changing your own writing. Because you worked hard to write your paper, you don't want AI to mess that up for you. So just double checking, is this really what I want to say and really how I want to say it, or is AI just putting words in my mouth? And here's where you should stop. Here is where you should not use Grammarly. Do not buy Grammarly Pro or allow Pro suggestions. These are going to flag for AI without a doubt, because it is AI. They use GPT-14 to change your work, and then it is no longer yours. It belongs to the AI, and that is fabrication. Do not change words or remove them if they're suggesting you change a complete word. It's one thing if you're changing the spelling, it's another thing if they're telling you to get rid of your words or change the word to a different word. Do not accept the choose a synonym suggestion. You could do that yourself by looking up thesaurus.com and typing in synonyms for this word if you really think you want a different word. But honestly, go with your gut most of the time. You can look up the definition of a word or look up a synonym using thesaurus instead of using Grammarly and having AI do that for you. Do not allow any AI restructuring of the essay format or sentence structure. So again, anytime the AI is like, you should rearrange this or you should change that, that's where you're like, whoa, 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 this is my paper. Step off. Don't allow changing the tone, reducing redundancy, or changing delivery. So where it says, do you want a more professional tone to your paper? Try this. Don't try that. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to your own thoughts and writing, and don't allow Grammarly to say things that weren't originally your idea, because chances are it's going to make the paper sound clunky because it's imposing its own thoughts on this one sentence. It's going to stick out, and it's going to honestly just interrupt the flow of your paper. The Grammarly doesn't know the prompt you're writing about 9 times out of 10. The Grammarly doesn't know all of the skills you've learned in your English class. The Grammarly is just going to spit out what it thinks is right, and 9 times out of 10 it makes the paper worse. And 10 times out of 10 it will flag on Turnitin. So you can always visit us if you have any questions about this. We are happy to help you. So please feel free if this was a little unclear to you or if you're worried about it. And my own advice, if you're worried about flagging for AI, just don't use it at all. Just skip out on the Grammarly and trust yourself. Or trust a tutor. Have a tutor look it over for you. Because if a tutor helps you look it over, you're not going to have an AI flag. Another thing to be wary of is the NetTutor. The NetTutor is not associated with the Moorpark Writing Center. So that is a off-campus option through Canvas. And a few students have mentioned that the responses they get from the NetTutor also seem like they are AI generated. So take the use of the NetTutor with a grain of salt. Don't forget that even if you don't have time to make an appointment with us, we do still offer email tutoring as well. So you can always email the email tutor. We are happy to help you in whichever way we can accommodate, whether that's in person, online, or email. But just think about us before you think about turning to AI for your paper. Chances are it's less work to work it out with a tutor than to rewrite an entire paper you get a 0 on for flagging for AI. So hopefully this helps you guys out. You know where to find us if you have more questions. And yeah, that's about it.